Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. It sounds like the couple from our first story were tired of people using their property and don't worry much about the safety of others. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. People leave spiked strips in their driveways. My boyfriend and I were driving up a mountain road in Madison County, North Carolina, and pulled into someone's driveway to turn around. Right as we were turning, I saw a sign that said, "Private road, no turnarounds," but by that point it was too late. We'd driven over huge spike strips played directly on their property line. By spike strips, I mean huge spikes attached to a large chain disguised in their gravel. The chain and spikes wrapped around the inside of my front right tire and my back right tire, and on my right back tire had two of the large spikes sticking out. Both were completely flat. We immediately felt uncomfortable because of a large no trespassing sign and all the cameras, so we called the sheriffs just in case the people came home and were mad about us being on their property while waiting for the tow truck. About 30 minutes later, the owners came back, and they were some old country folk, probably in their late 70s, and were mad as hell. The sheriffs hadn't arrived yet, and I was nervous, so I immediately took complete responsibility and sincerely apologized, but it didn't matter. They hopped out of their car with their old video camcorder, recording, hooting and hollering, trying to pick a fight for their Facebook video. The video probably looks pretty stupid because the entire time I was killing them with kindness, which is just how my boyfriend and I are. Trying to de-escalate the situation, I said if they want, we'll roll my car off their property and wait for the cops there. They quickly snapped that if we leave with a spike chain stuck around my tire or any other spike stuck in my car, they'll have the cops arrest us for stolen property. I roll. My boyfriend said, "We don't want any hostility, we just want to leave." And he responded, "You think this is hostility? You leave my property and I'll show you hostility." And went in his truck and grabbed his firearm. At that point, our phones had died. No one knew where we were, and I was scared for our lives. I was not about to die about a 15-second turnaround. I told my boyfriend to yank off the chain and take out those spikes, and we rolled a half-mile down the mountain on my tire rims to the next house, where the owner was outside and said we could wait there, and flagged down the cops another 30 minutes later. The cops said this happens at least once a week and have had over 20 people call about it, including the Madison County District Judge. Overall, it started at 10 a.m. that morning, and we finally got home from the tire shop at 6 p.m., It cost over $300. And I just got 2 new tires yesterday. It wasted the entire day, a bunch of money, scratched and broke parts of my car, not to mention literally scared the living crap out of me. All because I did a 15-second turnaround. The tow truck and tire shops and police officers in the small town said they were fed up with them doing this to people, and it was really negatively impacting the community. Some people suggested suing them, but my main concern is stopping this from happening to other people. The cops said there's nothing technically illegal about it because it's on their property, but after further research, it looks like there are laws against booby traps and putting stuff like that out without a string gate or warning sign. I don't really care to sue them over the loss of time and money, but I will if it's the only legal way to stick it to them and stop them from doing this to others. And our second story. Boss said I couldn't borrow crew from other agencies anymore. This happened about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm an EMS dispatcher. My company used to have a single helicopter in addition to our decent-sized ground transport fleet. We got extremely used to stealing the nurse from our helicopter at night for ground transports that needed a nurse since we had a shortage of nurses. We partnered with a much larger air ambulance company, around 20-ish aircraft, for a few years before we gave up and sold them our operation. We provided the bird, medic, and nurse. They provided the pilots and everything else related to running the missions, fuel, maintenance, hangar fees, etc. After about a year of them running the helicopter for us, someone decided that we shouldn't be asking to borrow a flight team to do ground transportation, so my boss calls a staff meeting. The new rule was if we don't have a resource available, just give the call to their dispatcher, and if they want a ground transport, they'll ask for one. We specifically asked about transportation between 2 of our hospitals. One is a trauma center, the other is not. These hospitals are less than 2 miles apart, My partner and I were rather pointedly told to stop looking for absurd hypothetical problems to just do what we're told. So that same evening, the absurd hypothetical problem happens. Trauma victim was driven to the wrong hospital by family. I don't remember exactly what was wrong, and even if I did, I'm not risking a violation by telling Reddit. But the patient needed a nurse. The drugs required to sedate someone for a ventilator require a nurse in my state. Of course, we don't have one scheduled. I look at my partner, he looks at me. We both crack up, knowing what's most likely to occur here. But hey, I was literally told to shut up and do what I was told, so I did. I called the other agency, gave them the info necessary. About 2 minutes later, our medic calls in from their base. Are you serious? Why isn't this a ground transport? So I read him the 3-line memo. He swears in disgust and hangs up. I'm expecting a phone call requesting ground transport, so I call down to the truck bay to get someone working on making sure a truck is ready with full fuel for a 2-mile run, full oxygen, working inverter, etc. But the call never comes. Instead, I get the helicopter on frequency calling final approach. Now we're really laughing. The supervisor for the street crews calls in. He can tell us what to do, but he isn't actually in our chain of command. Our boss only worked days to ask why the helicopter's coming in. So I tell him I'm just following the very direct order I was given, which he was present for. He snorts and hangs up. Now I'm really expecting a call to move a rig up to transport by ground. Still no phone call. Aircraft takes off, calls airborne, and final in the same radio call. Final means landing zone in sight. Now other coworkers start catching wind of what's happening and start calling to see if we're really doing it. After about 2 hours, I get a phone call from my boss's boss. What the F are you doing? Exactly what you told me to do when I asked about this exact situation about 6 hours ago, sir. He hangs up on me. Next day, new memo, dispatchers are to use their judgment. I'm still giggling about this years later, and before anyone gets all up in arms, no, the patient couldn't be billed for the ride. Ground transportation was clearly indicated and available, so whether my company or the other, it was written off. But hey, now we're allowed to make judgment calls again. And our next story. Tall, brown, and shirtless? You must work here. To preface this, I'm only 15, but I'm also 6'3" with long, curly hair, so I look like a local on the island I'm currently visiting with my family. Also, my aunt is a short, pale woman. In other words, if you didn't already know we're related, there's no way in hell you'd be able to guess. It's just a normal day. I'm just chilling on the beach when my aunt asks me to go with her to rent some gear so her kids can play in the water. I, of course, agree, knowing that I'll be the pack mule I was born to be. I also happen to be quite dumb, and when I stand up, I take 2 steps and cut my foot on a plastic shovel. So I tell my aunt I'll meet her at the place after I wash the sand and shame out of my newly acquired battle scar. Once my wound is all dressed, I go to the little rental shack and pack mule all the gear to the water for the kids to enjoy. I also stay and supervise and play in the ocean because it's fun. I leave the ocean and the fun begins. We'll refer to everyone as such: random guy RG, me, aunt AU, manager dude MD. Random guy taps my shoulder. I turn around. Me, yes. RG, hello, could you please return my rental equipment for me? Me, no. RG, isn't that what your job is? Me, no. RG, I just saw you doing that for someone else, though. Me. What? RG. You were just helping that white woman, my aunt over there, so why can't I get any help? Me. What white woman? Dude, I don't even work here. RG. Oh, I get it. You're not trying to help me because I'm insert oppressed brown ethnicity. Me. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't work here. RG. Where's your manager, kid? I'm gonna have your job. Me. What? Q manager dude. Manager dude. What's going on, sir? RG. You guys really shouldn't hire bigots like him. Points at me. MD. We never hired him. Me. RG. But I saw him carrying rental gear for that white lady over there. Points at my aunt. Aunt is called over. AU. Yes. RG to my aunt. This young man carried your rental stuff for you, right? AU. Yes. Why? RG to manager. See, I told you, he's just a lazy bigot. AU. What the F did you just say about my nephew? RG. Nephew? Me. Yeah, I just carried her stuff because she's my aunt. RG. MD to RG. Sir, please take your things over to the rental kiosk, and then I'll ask that you and your family promptly leave the beach. Thank you. Still MD. Sorry about all this. Anything I can get you folks? Me. I like macadamia nuts. AU shakes head. MD. I'll be right back with your macadamia nuts. MD exit stage left. AU. What the hell was all that about? Me. I don't know, but there's sand in my cut again. Gonna go wash this out. Tell him to just give you the macadamia nuts when he comes back. End. And our last story. X wants to charge me rent after stealing the deed to my house. I live in North Carolina and I own my own home and land free and clear, and have done since before this relationship. Back in February, my now ex-girlfriend and I were doing some spring cleaning and she somehow managed to steal, without me noticing, the deed to my house from my fireproof safe. Here we are in July and she ghosted me out of nowhere, so after 3 weeks of being ignored, I brought her things in a box to her work today and asked for the key to my house back. This is when she informed me that she was now in possession of the deed to my house, meaning it was hers now and I was trespassing on her property. She said she'd have me removed by the cops if I didn't pay her a security deposit and back rent since February, totaling up to, in her delusional mind, $7,000. I laughed in her face and walked away. My original plan was to go to the courthouse on Monday and get another certified copy of my deed, but now I'm second-guessing myself. Update. I just got back from town with new locks from Lowe's. I also filed a police report. Not so much because I want her prosecuted, but because having a report on file sooner rather than later will only serve to cover my own butt. The officer said he'd look into it, but since none of her chicanery was recorded or in writing, I shouldn't expect to get the deed back. He did say he'd notify me if there was a change of ownership or anything that popped up while he was investigating. I'm still going to the courthouse Monday to be sure, though. Also, she didn't live with me. She had a spare key and a drawer of clothes because she occasionally stayed over, but she still lives across town. So I don't think there will be any tenants' rights issues, but I will ask the courthouse clerk on Monday to make sure. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.